Good morning, Taste Buds. Are your morning less hectic during these days of summer versus the school year? Join me today for recipes that are custom built for the more leisurely breakfast of summer on SoFlo Taste. How fun is that? Happily, it's time for SoFlo Taste again. I'm Chef Michelle Bernstein, and I'm standing in the Goya kitchen at JA World in Coconut Creek. Summer takes on a whole new feel at our house. During the school year, it's much more hectic getting our son, Zachy, out of school, my husband, David, off to a meeting, and me either to a kitchen or an airplane, you never know. So breakfast during the summer can be much more leisurely. So I thought it would be fun to give you some recipes for a less crazed morning meal. So let's get cooking. The first thing I wanted to show you was a Café con Leche muffin. It's so yummy. It has that coffee flavor and it's easy, which we all love. I'm first gonna mix the dry ingredients together. Here I have all-purpose flour. I'm adding some sugar, some baking powder, a little bit of kosher salt, and a really nice amount of cinnamon. So let's make sure that that is mixed really well. All right, now let's jump right into the wet ingredients. 1 egg yolk, 1 whole egg, some shortening that we melted, vegetable shortening of course, some butter that we melted, a little bit of vanilla, milk, whisking constantly to make sure that's really smooth, and then add some finely ground coffee. All right, let's make sure that that's well mixed. Now we're gonna add our dry ingredients into our wet ingredients. And combine. Once that starts getting thick, let's get rid of our whisk. You do not need a mixer with this. It's really, really a simple recipe. You don't have to get everything all dirty. Let's use a rubber spatula. And this muffin recipe has a streusel topping that has just a tiny pinch of the flavors that are in here. So it has coffee and cinnamon in it. All right, so this is your muffin batter, really simple to make. What we're going to do is take just a little ice cream scooper. And as you can see, we have little paper muffin cups in there to make our life easy. No spray, no nothing. Just go ahead and place your muffin mix into the cups. And you can always get fun colors of cups. They sell all over the place nowadays. Now these muffins are going to be so delicious and so moist, you're going to want to take some over to your next door neighbor's house as a gift as well. So I guess this is making exactly 10. We're not going to make 12 muffins out of this, which is perfectly fine. Remember I told you about that streusel topping, so that's really easy to make. We've got flour with sugar, and like I said, a little bit of cinnamon and coffee, and of course I have some butter. So what we're going to do is just add the butter to the flour sugar. If you don't mind, I'm just going to use my hands on this because it's the best way to do it. Make sure your oven is hot and ready to go because like I said, these are quick and easy. We're going to make all this together today. Once this is well combined, we'll top it and it goes into a 375-degree oven. Should only take 15 to 18 minutes depending on your oven. Okay, so the streusel is formed when all the ingredients really kind of come together and are able to form kind of a mass that you can mold yourself. So you'll just want to break it apart in smaller pieces and go ahead and top your muffin with some of this crumbly goodness. The kids will probably find that this is the tastiest part to the whole muffin. All right, I'm gonna finish topping these. We'll throw it in the oven. When you come right back, I've got one of my favorite egg recipes ever soon to come. So come right back for more recipes here on SoFlo Taste. Mwah!
Stick around. Things are just heating up in the Goya kitchen at J.A. World on SoFlo Taste.
Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. These no rush, no fuss breakfast recipes, and all my recipes are available on the SoFlo Show's webpage. Just scan this quick response code and you're off to the SoFlo Show's page. You'll also see this QRC on the ingredient list throughout the show. It's a great way to make shopping lists. Now back to SoFlo Taste, where I'm making leisurely breakfasts. Shakshuka, one of my favorite egg dishes. I've made it before, I'm making it again. And I've always changed my recipes just a little bit. I'm always tweaking. So right now I'm sauteing onions, garlic, red peppers, and a little bit of jalapenos. They're all seeded. They're all julienne, nice and fine and thin. They've already started to soften. So let's add all the fun part to this. A little bit of Aleppo pepper, which is a little fruitier and less heat than a cayenne or hot paprika would be. So I'm gonna add that in. A little bit of smoky paprika, some coriander, and some cumin. You really want to toast the spices in the oil before adding anything liquidy like we are in just a moment. Once fragrant, which I can tell you for sure this room is, I'm going to go ahead and add some canned tomatoes that we've just kind of smashed with our hands and left the juices. And let's go ahead and let that work in a little bit. Just need that to cook for a couple minutes. We've got these beautiful eggs, and by the way, I got these at Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market. Aside from this, they have so many incredible things, and by the way, they have all kinds of eggs. They have white jumbo eggs, organic cage-free eggs. Of course, they have black Angus beef. You can pick everything up in store, 4191 State Road 7 in Hollywood. Place an order, DelawareChicken.com, or call 954-983-6831. Delaware Chicken Farm and Seafood Market is now in their 8th decade of serving South Florida. It's just unbelievable. And these, by the way, are fabulous eggs. And they are good people. And tell them Michelle sent ya. All right, I'm not going to crack them yet. But what we're going to do, I've always made my shakshuka in the oven, which is interesting because my mother taught me to always cook eggs in sauce on a stove. So today, to make things a little different, I'm going to actually cook the egg on the stove in my sauce. But before we do that, let's start warming our pita bread, because pita bread is delicious served next to shakshuka. I just have a hot pan going, no oil, no fat, no nothing. For the topping of this, I've got some very thinly sliced, it's called a chiffonade of parsley. You can chop it any way you want to, of course. I have za'atar, one of my favorite Middle Eastern spices. This is dried thyme and sesame. Once in a while, you'll find some that have dried thyme, dried mint, and sesame, also delicious. And if you love feta, like I love feta, we're gonna add a little bit of creme de feta over the top. This looks really good. The only thing I didn't do is season this. So it really needs a good amount of salt because it is tomato, it has that high acid. Okay. It looks pretty ready to me for the eggs. So what I'm going to do is every time I add an egg, I'm going to kind of bury a little bit of space in for that egg. Have a little bowl ready for your cracked shells. Let's go ahead and crack the egg. Carefully add it in there and then put the shells there. Let's do that again. Make a little space over here. Yes, perfect. Okay, quickly cracking an egg, adding it in that little space, putting the shells over here. Let's do that 2 more times. Now I love serving shakshuka in the pan that it cooks in at the table, but of course you can serve people if you would rather. Okay, I'm going to do the last egg over here. Just make a little room for it. Beautiful. All right, so now that the eggs are cooking, I'm gonna go ahead and just add a tiniest little bit of butter kind of around the egg, just to give it a little fat, because we don't have a lot of fat here. I mean, I added a little bit of olive oil to saute the peppers, but that was it. So just a little bit of fat. That's it. That was like half a tablespoon. All right, let's shake that up. Looking pretty good. Our pita needs to be turned over, nice and warm. Let's check on our muffins because I think they might be ready. They smell ready. Let's see. With a paring knife, go ahead and test it. If any comes out on your knife, like mine did, this needs 2 more minutes because you saw it was a crumble. It wasn't really wet. So I'm going in for just 2 more minutes in the oven. Now let's check out our shakshuka. As you can see, the eggs are starting to cook all the way around the egg. We're starting to get some nice white formations of cooked egg. The yolk stays nice and runny and the egg cooks beautifully. So let's go ahead and finish our shakshuka because by the time we finish it, it's going to be ready to serve. We've got the parsley. We've got our za'atar I told you about. And then finally, and only if you like it, I love feta cheese and I think it's just delicious on this. A little bit of feta, and I'm putting it on right at the end of the cooking of the eggs, which means it's just going to melt very delicately over the top. Not completely, just a little. Our pita is probably warm enough. Yeah, sure is. So let's put that on the side. Let's make sure our eggs are cooked. I'm just kind of cheating a little by pushing all the white out and then back. Pushing it out like so. And then back. And again. This one's totally cooked. All right. Let's go ahead and serve our shakshuka. So this is how I personally would serve it at the table. Everyone can serve themselves a little scoop of the shakshuka. And then our muffins happen to be ready as well. Y'all, I think we're off to a pretty darn good start. Come right back. I have my favorite Southern style breakfast coming up next.
The fun continues right after SoFlo Taste with SoFlo Home Project, next on Local 10.
SoFlo Taste will return right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste. We're here at JA World in Coconut Creek. For information about this educational destination, go to jasouthflorida.org or call 954-979-7100. Now back to breakfast. All right, y'all, we're heading a little bit south. We are going to make cheese grits with poached eggs and crispy pancetta. First, I want to teach you how to make good grits. I love the combination of milk and chicken stock. If you don't want to use chicken stock, you can use water or vegetable stock. But these two, to me, make the perfect combination of grits. And just so you know, it's like 1 to 5, 1 to 6 grit to liquid. You really need a huge amount of liquid for a small amount of grit. So if you think you're going to go even amounts or even 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, it's not going to happen. You're not going to get that beautiful creaminess of a grit that you're looking for. So let me show you what I do. I'm going to go ahead and heat that up. I'm going to add a couple tablespoons of butter. I'm going to add a nice amount of salt because we need this to taste good so that the grit can kind of cook in this flavorful liquid. Also, the milk makes it really creamy. If you want to go a step further, you can absolutely add either half and half or heavy cream to this. But it's really going to be a thick, heavy, creamy grit, where I like the milk and the chicken stock because to me it just makes it more flavorful. Once that comes up to temperature and just almost boils, bring it down to a simmer and then go ahead and take a whisk and kind of like polenta, you're just going to little by little shake that into the liquid and keep stirring, 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 stirring. Eventually, when that starts to thicken, you're going to want to switch that to a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula. And you're going to let that go at a very low simmer until it really thickens up and starts to really cook. And that takes a good 20 to 25 minutes. But after that's done, what I like to do to make it even more creamy and fine is I put it on the lowest possible heat. And if my burner happens to be a gas burner, I put it on like a little metal plate like this. It's like a little baking tray, but it has to be metal. And I put it underneath the grit so that it's even less hot. And it's just that barely small flame covered. We'll just let it sit there for another good 20 minutes, and then you have something beautiful. And let me show you what that looks like. This is just this gorgeously creamy, thick grit, and it's just ready to eat. Now, I take it a little bit further, as I take everything, and I put a little bit of cheddar cheese into it. This is freshly grated cheddar cheese. You can add whatever cheese you like or no cheese at all. It's really up to you. But I personally love cheesy grits, especially in the morning. And this is thin slices of pancetta, which you can either buy at the supermarket, you can ask them to slice it for you at the deli counter, or you can find them already sliced. Put them on a piece of parchment paper, lay them out, put another piece of parchment paper on top of it, and then another cookie sheet or sheet pan sitting on top of that. Cook it at about 375 until it turns this beautiful golden color, and then remove carefully the hot pan and the sheet of paper over it, and let them cool, and they just crisp up beautifully. It's like a little chip of bacon, or in this case, pancetta. The difference is bacon is smoked and cured, pancetta is just cured. It's not smoked. So let's take a couple pieces of this beautiful pancetta. I used coarse grits today. Doesn't matter where you get them or what brand they are, but really good old-fashioned coarse grits, there's nothing like it. If you get instant grits, then follow your package instructions for instant grits. It doesn't cook as long as these stone ground grits, but it also will never be as good, just so you know. All right, last part of this puzzle. Let's go ahead and poach an egg for the top of this recipe. And I wanted to show you something interesting that I was reading about. You know, eggs are interesting. They have the albumin, they have the white around them, they have the yolk in the center, and then they have this kind of watery stuff in there too that we all think is part of the egg white. However, it's not. It's looser, it's thinner, and it's more liquid. And it's usually the part that foams up and kind of comes off when you're poaching an egg. So instead of getting all fancy and putting vinegar in your water and doing all that, all you have to do is put an egg, crack it open, onto a strainer. And guess what I have down here? All that white part that we don't like to eat very much. So this can go into some simmering water, or we're going to poach this like we just would a normal egg. The only thing that I'm missing in my grits is pepper. I like a lot of black pepper in my grits. Some people like hot sauce, which is also absolutely delicious in their grits. So I'm going to go ahead and add a really good amount of pepper in here. And I do it at the end when my cheese is already in there. Okay, now it's the way I like it. Let's go ahead and stir that around. And these are, look at how beautifully cheesy these are. Good stuff. All right, let's take a bowl and fill it with these gorgeous grits. And my egg needs 1 more minute. So go to commercial, come right back, and let's make beautiful breakfast together. I'll finish this recipe right after this. Welcome back to SoFlo Taste and our beautifully leisurely breakfast show. So my poached egg has cooked for about 2 minutes and a couple seconds, and it looks beautifully ready to me. It absolutely is. So I just take a spoon that has some holes on the bottom. That's called a perforated spoon. I've got my beautiful cheese grits with lots of black pepper. I'm going to place the egg strategically right in the center. Take that crispy pancetta and adorn that beautiful egg. Oh yes, it's a perfect Southern breakfast. Absolutely delicious. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's fun sharing this time with you every week. Now that you've got more time in the morning, or at least sometime more time in the morning, I hope you'll try some of these no-rush dishes. There are very few of us who can resist at least some type of junk food every now and again. I know I cannot resist. Next week, I'm all about junk food, but as you know, I can't resist adding my twist to them. So come back next week as I make you junk food that's not so junky on SoFlo Taste. Now let's peek in on design expert Elena Capra. Good morning, Elena. What you got for us today on SoFlo Home Project?
Hi, Michelle. Good morning. So today we are diving into fashion-forward, summer-inspired looks. Coming up on SoFlo Home Project, we take a look at how fashion influences home design for some inspiring new decor.
So Taste Buds, thanks again for taking the time to watch. I love sharing my recipes, so please be smart, be safe, and be vaccinated. And I'll see you next week. Now stay tuned for Elena and SoFlo Home Project. Goodbye, good health, and mwah, 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 good taste. Your serial number.